Okay, hello. We're on the air, and I'm going to check the audio. Let's see. This is a Flintknapping live stream. I don't have anything set up yet. Hold on. I'm going to be chipping rocks. Today's Thursday, so it's supposed to be a challenge night. Let's see if I have audio. So I always check this. Audio. Yep, I've got audio. Everything's good. We have people showing up already. It's only been 42 seconds, but it's good. Oh, yes, I'm not complaining. The only thing I complain about is I don't get notices of my own live stream. I got to look it up. JV is here, first one. Yep. I got my stogie today, but I don't really like these. I just bought these because they were on sale at the cigar shop that I went to. I went to a new cigar shop and they had these. I didn't realize they were sweetened. It's like a chocolate cigar, so I don't like sweetened cigars. But I mean, hey, it still works. Oh yes, I am using my super chat money. Yep. Mr. Jim is here. Hey, Marty's here. I saw your live stream earlier, or a little bit of it. Today, Marty was live. I got the notification that you were live. Andrew Humphrey is here. Let me put my glasses on so I can see the peoples. Yeah, so I can see the peeps. Kai is here. Hello. Dockenstein is here. Audio is good. Nice. It's good. Ian Hermson says hello or hey, everybody. Graylin Landry, good evening. Stoneface is here. Alan Cole is here. Mac Bales. Jesse's here. My Flintknapping journey is here. Wow, look at that. That's amazing. AM Outdoors. Hey. B-Buses, how's it goes tonight? It goes okay. Alan Young says hello. Red Lemur says hey. Or says hey. He says smiley face. I can't see. There's too many words. Let's see. That's a little bit better. I can see. JV's doing okay. Everyone's saying hi to everybody. Your laughter says, hey, Jack. OGS is here. Good evening, Mr. Patrick. Good evening. We can't wait for school. Yeah, I'm going to do sharpening tonight. It'll be a challenge night, but since I'm doing a string of tutorial videos, we're going to stick with the tutorials until tomorrow night. We're going to resume our regularly scheduled programming tomorrow night and do some bird points. Great Fishing is here. Hey. Feathered Frontiersman says hi there. Feathered Frontiersman, did I see you already? Let me see. No, I thought I had said hi to you already. Okay, who else is here? Sam Folks says hi. Beagler Potts, what's up? Somebody sent a membership. Alan Cole sent a membership to somebody. Marty YB received the membership. Cool. Awesome. AM Outdoors says evening to everybody. Mr. Jim Ross Wellman. Explore Florida is here. Hello. Jesse, $10. Glad to see Cigar Fund in full use. Yeah. I'm going to buy some non-sweetened. In case you're wondering, this particular one is chocolate flavored. At least it tastes like chocolate to me. Yeah, this is Especial from Drew Estate. I should know better. I didn't have my glasses on, so I didn't see it. Drew Estate usually has these sweetened cigars. It's not my style, but it still works. Yeah. Wilderness Quest Outdoors. Jay is here. Hey. I am here for the moment. Everyone's doing pretty good there, Jay. I am hoping. Yeah. Okay. 119 people already. And it's a Thursday night. So what do we got going on? Well, we're going to do some sharpening. Yeah, I'm going to show you how to sharpen the way I do it. All right. So I'm going to demonstrate sharpening on these. There's different ways to sharpen. Okay. So, but I'm going to show you the two basic ways that I use. One-sided beveling and then bifacial type beveling. Yeah, I'm going to show you two main types of sharpening. Okay, so where's my stuff? I move stuff around today a little bit. You'll see what is going on. You'll see in a minute. This is all pressure flaking stuff. I'll probably move on to something else because the sharpening doesn't take long to demonstrate. Might use pointer on stuff today. Yeah. I'm waiting on another pointer that has a little bit of a different finger arrangement. Yeah. A little bit different than that. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. All right. So what do we use? We use these. We use modern tools if we want to get sharp to spec. Yeah. So when you're at this stage, you can start sharpening. Yeah. All right. Maybe I'll just show you the sharpening technique everyone uses. I don't know what to call these. I'm going to start figuring out vocabularies for these different sharpening techniques. But the easiest one, and the one you see online a lot, is you just put your flaker on the top. You grind it a little bit first, right? So let me demonstrate the grinding, just so people can say, what do you grind it for? Anyway, I'm not going to goof around. I am not going to goof around. I'm not going to make fun of people. I will demonstrate this. I will be calm and I will go slow. Yeah. Okay, I'll just watch myself. So you grind it a little bit so that you can get a good purchase on the edge and push off a flake and just push downward. Now, do you have to grind it? No. But you know what? When you grind it, it pushes off a little bit better flakes. They don't crush as much. Yeah. If you don't mind the crunch and munch, if you're in a hurry and you don't have anything to abrade it with or grind it with, you can do the crunch and munch on the delicate edges. It's just not going to be as nice looking. And I'm just on the surface. Push down. Straight vertical. Or, fairly straight. I don't know exactly, but it feels like I'm right on the surface. I'm just pushing downward. I might be pushing slightly inward. The roundness of the tip might be exerting some inward force, maybe. And maybe you can get a fairly long flake if you push hard enough. See, these flakes are about that long. How long is it? I'll give you millimeters and inches. How long is that flake? Like maximum 5 millimeter. They range from like 4 and 3 millimeter. Now inches, the flakes. Now if they follow a ridge, are a little bit longer, right? So it's like about 3/16, and then 1/8 of an inch, and then a 1/16 of an inch. So they range, okay, on something like this. Now, is it getting the edge sharp? If you look, you can see, but it's never going to be as sharp as a flake, but it does get sharp because the edge gets thin. If you put these flakes close enough together, there's no dull spots in between. And excuse the camera, it has brain farts. The camera doesn't know how to stay focused, okay? It's very distractive. The camera's got ADHD, I think. Yeah, but I'm not going to goof around. No. Okay, so see how thin that is? And that's just from going downward. You can get it thinner and better on this next technique that I'll show. But this one is just straight down pressure. And yeah, you got to be a little bit careful because you can mess it up. How do you mess it up? By taking a big old chunk out of the edge. Just go straight down. People want to know how to properly sharpen. Well, as long as you're doing one of these techniques like I'm showing you, it's a proper way to do it. There is no formula because different stones react differently. Some don't, you don't have to grind it very much at all before you do this. Some of them you do have to grind it a lot. Some you have to sharpen this tool tip a lot, and some you don't. Some stone points, like at this stage, are really, really big, and you don't do these little bitty flakes. You put more pressure and force into it because the edge is thicker on a bigger point, usually. It varies. There is no proper way. There are many ways. It varies. Even with this technique, it's going to vary, and your results may vary. You may not be able to get results doing this. Like, I'm showing you how to do it, but you try it, and it's mysterious. It's like, how is he doing that? I try it, and I don't get anything like this. There may be people out there that try this, and then they look at their stuff, and they go, mine looks nothing like that when I do that. It doesn't even get thin on the edge. It looks all messed up. I get like step fracture after crush, after powdery surfaces, after no sharpness at all. I test it, and it's not, some people have no luck or no success at all. You'll have to figure out how to place the flaker on there to do that. Or you just got some weird stone. That happens too. Now, it looks nice and straight from this side, but look at that side. Look how wavy that is. But you know what? Some of the artifacts were like that. It's just, you just downward press, and you get a nice even look to this side, but you go over here like this, and it's all kind of wavy. You can fix that by doing this on the other side too. Okay, so this is one way. You just do it one side. It's not beveling, okay? It's just one side downward force. It doesn't. It could be probably considered like a pseudo beveling, but it's just downward pressure. This is the easiest way to do it. Now, you flip it over and you do downward pressure on the other side, and you can make it look nice and neat. Yeah. So just, you don't need to grind it, and don't grind it. Okay, don't grind it for the second pass. You're on the surface pushing downward. Just on the surface pushing downward wherever it looks like it's all messed up. And you're just straightening out the edge. Just downward pressure. This is the easiest sharpening technique in the entire world. Oh yes. And it works. Okay. Just downward. How far inward? It depends on the stone and all that. Okay. Tough stone, you may have to do something else. You may have to put this flaker up a little higher. If you're getting a lot of wobbling, you work on your grip strength. Work on your finger strength. Maybe I should take my glove off. I am putting some pressure on it to hold it and keep it from wobbling. Okay. It does wobble a little bit, but with this downward pressure thing, it doesn't matter too much because there's no angle other than straight down. You don't have to worry about it messing up the angle if you push inward and it's doing this. I'll show you what happens later. Okay. On the next technique, it matters, but this technique, it doesn't. You're just pushing on the surface downward. And voila. And if you don't get these results, you just got to keep watching the video over and over again and try to match what I just did. All right, that's the easiest way to sharpen. You can either do it on one side only or on both sides. I did both sides. And it makes the edge nice and straight from both views, or nice and even. This technique, I also use it to make the edge straight. And I regrind it. I take off all that sharpness if I want to drive in some more flakes. But that's a different story. It's the same procedure if I want to make the edge straight. Okay? But at this stage, it is kind of sharp. So this is one way to sharpen it. Okay? See the difference on the edges? This one got nice and neat, and this one isn't. All right. Now, what we're going to do is the next more complicated sharpening is coming up. I'm going to regrind this. But the preliminary to the second type of sharpening is this downward force. Downward force. This is like a prerequisite to the more advanced sharpening. This is simple sharpening, but it's also a prerequisite to advanced flake removal and advanced sharpening. Okay? So we're done with the prerequisite. This will work as a sharp edge, but there's ways that it could be better. Okay, so we get rid of this not so great edge. Because we're going to do it better on the next pass. How much do I grind it? It depends on the stone. Some stones require lots of grinding, like obsidian, to get relatively long flakes. Some doesn't at all, like high-grade flint. But it also depends on how long you want the flakes. And if you want to do percussion on it or pressure on it. For percussion, you need stronger edge with more grinding. Okay, so now we're ready for a more advanced technique. Why is it more advanced? Because it requires more practice to get good at it. It's not just simple downward force. And before, when I was using downward force, it was pretty consistent, the same amount of force every time. Very consistent. Downward consistently and the same amount of force consistently all the way down. It's very consistent. It's very easy for beginners to do that. Okay? You don't have to be a beginner to use that technique to sharpen it up. And it removes just a little bit of the edge, so it is efficient. But it's not like this technique that I'm going to show you right now. Okay? The technique I'm going to show you right now is what I normally use on items that I sell. Okay? All right. So with this technique, each flake is different. Unless it's parallel sided. These flakes are going to be pretty consistent because the sides are parallel. But once it starts getting more narrow, you don't want the flakes to be traveling too far, like when we get up here near the tip, because it'll overshoot. Down here, if you're doing big old flakes, and you want to keep doing big old flakes, eventually when you get to a certain point, you're going to make a mistake and go too far. So it's going to change. It changes a lot up here near the tip. Down here is pretty much the same. Okay. So we've got pretty much parallel sides here. Unlike this one here, there is no parallel sides. So it's going to change with every single flake. Here, it's going to be pretty consistent on the parallel sides. And then as it starts getting more narrow, that's when it starts to change. And it changes not only because of the width, but because of the thickness. It becomes more delicate up here. So you cannot push as hard without risking breaking it up here as you can down here. Down here you can push a lot harder because everything's thicker than here. This thins down. It's supposed to be tapering. So it's going to be different. That's why it's an advanced technique, because it requires you to be changing up your tool positioning and the forces and all that. Okay? So when you place this on here, instead of going downward, we're going to force some inward pressure. Okay? And it depends on where it is. Like, we're at center line. So we're not going to drive really big long flakes, because it's easier to drive big long flakes if you're lower than center line. In most cases, some cases, no. You're going to have to experiment with this. Okay? So I'm going to take some flakes off following ridges, and I'm going to knock off some high spots. I'm going to generate flakes that are about a 1/4 inch, let's say. It depends on the stone, but I think I can get 1/4 inch flakes pretty easily here. Okay, and I want a bulb of pressure. That's one of the key ingredients of this. That bulb thins down the edge more than if you just press straight downward. See, that bulb scoops it out so that the edge right there is very, very thin compared to the other way to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to create a lot of little bulbs of pressure. The spacing, it depends on what you want to do. If you want a lot of little flakes or some big flakes, I'm going to do a lot of little flakes, so I'm kind of spacing them close together. And it scoops it out. Okay, now all these flakes are about the same amount of force, and the angle and everything is the same. It only, like I said earlier, it starts to change as you get closer to the tip. How much force am I using? I don't know. I'm using about, 10 or 15 pounds of pressure. Maybe a little bit more. I don't know. It might be useful someday for us to have little forceometers, so we know how much force, so that people can train themselves to generate that amount of force. But for now, we just have to practice until we get this kind of result. I'm pushing inward, not just downward. Now this is when it starts to change up. I have trouble with this because it changes. If you see my videos, I do have trouble with this particular area because these flakes are changing in the angle and the force involved. So I have to consciously think about this every time I do it. Now, it's more downward rather than inward as you approach the tip, and the force becomes less. So let's say I was using 15 pounds here. I start using less than that here, like maybe 10 pounds here, and then down here maybe 5 pounds. I'm guessing, but it reduces. The amount of force you need reduces, which is pretty obvious and pretty intuitive, but I need to say it anyway. It's a lot of downward as you get closer and closer to the tip. Right near the tip, it's like 90% downward. Yeah, very, very rarely do I push inward at the very tip. Okay, so I made a pass all the way down. So the length of these flakes is pretty consistent until you get up to about here. These flakes are about half the distance of these down here. Can you see the difference? Now, on some artifacts, that's all they did. One pass. They didn't do it on the other side. And it is kind of jaggedy, just like this. And on some of the artifacts I've seen, that they'll come in and they'll pick at it to get rid of the dull spots in between. I've seen artifacts that have the dull spots still on there, especially on these parallel-sided ones. Up here, as you get near the tip, yeah, it's always very sharpened. You get rid of all the dull spots in between. Up near the tip, it's very persnickety on the artifacts near the tip. So what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of anything that looks dull. And you can kind of tell by the roundedness. See how rounded that is? And you see how sawtooth this is? So you just pick off the rounded spots. And sometimes it's very subtle. Now, on artifacts down here, a lot of times they didn't pick in between. So you'll see, and on casts and stuff, you'll see a dull spot. You'll see the dull and the sharp, and the dull and the sharp, and dull and sharp. I'm not sure why they did it that way, but it probably on the projectile points only and not on knives to cut stuff. All right. I guess it would work just as well as a projectile if they left those little dull areas in between. Now, if you have artifacts and you don't see those little dull areas and stuff, that's because they didn't do that in your area. But on artifacts from Texas that I've seen, that's all they do is they just do that pass, and they've got these ridges. Let me get a light on this. These ridges are untouched, but when you get toward the tip, these ridges, you can see little flakes on the ridges. Come on, focus. The camera has ADHD. It's not able to maintain its focus. Hold on. I'm trying to get it to focus. Up here, you can see that the flakes, it's still doing it. There's little bitty flakes that knock off those ridges, but over here, the ridges are more pronounced. Okay? If you look close up at the edge, if it'll cooperate, this edge has a continuous amount of chips, whereas this one does not. Okay, so artifacts are done this way in many cases. The way I do it, I go back and I get all the dull spots. But if I want to sell the item, I don't leave the ridges intact. I go back and there's a little bit of crunching going on, yes. Not supposed to. If you hear crunching, it's not being sharpened. It's just being, I don't know. It's just being modified slightly to get rid of that grinding. Okay, so now if you look at the ridges, you can see that they've been taken down a little bit by flakes. Just little bitty flakes have taken down and made the ridges less pronounced. They're still there. They're just less pronounced than before. Okay? So you can leave it like this, or you can grind it. You can go back and do the same thing on the other side. You can be unifacial or bifacial. Now, if you keep doing this unifacially, grind it again and then do another pass like this, and then grind it again, do another pass, you're going to see a beveling effect. So back in the day when they would resharpen these, they would grind it again and do another pass just like this. And you do enough of those passes and it develops a bevel. You don't take anything off the middle as far as thickness goes. And you can see the bevels are about a quarter inch or half inch in some cases. It ranges. The length of the flakes, they're different depending on the size of the point. But you keep doing this over and over and over again, and it'll start to create a bevel. All right, so this is the first stage of beveling if you only do one side. But I'm going to do both sides. Okay, so guess what we got to do? You got to grind off that sharp area to do the other side. Oh, yes. You grind more here than you do here. These are all consistent flakes here. That's a consistent grind, but you start grinding less as you go toward the tip. You don't need much grinding near the tip. If you grind a lot here, chances are you'll be pushing really hard and say, man, these flakes are not coming off, and it'll knock off the whole tip. So just be very careful up here. And most of your grinding is going to be down here. And these flakes are going to be longer. And then this progressively get shorter as this gets more narrow. Okay. Now our flaker got dull because we just used it. So what's the proper way to sharpen? All of these techniques and methods and procedures are all proper. There's more than one proper way. Just depends on how sharp you want to get it. I think the sharpest is if you do it bifacially. But you can get a pretty good bevel sharpening going also. But I like the bifacial sharpening. I seem to get really sharp edges that way. And why do I start with the tip? Because this is when it's sharpest. The tool is sharpest. And I'm able to get in there on the tip and get some really effective flakes at the tip with a nice sharp flaker. And as it gets dull, it's useful for these flakes down here. And yeah, I'm going back to see if I can thin it down a little bit more. It needs to be thinned. So I'm going to go the other side again and see if I can thin it. Okay, I'm going to make the tip thin. Let's see if I can take off a flake from the other side and fix this up. Yes, I'm a little bit distracted. Hold on. Oh, I just want to get that tip thin down. Okay. It's starting to get thin down. I could be a little more persnickety about it. But I like to do this while the flaker is still sharp. Okay, so now where's the ground down edge? It's this side. Now I don't have to pay attention to how straight that edge is. But if I want to pay attention to it, I notice that this is probably too fat here, a little bit too fat there, too fat there. I can run some thinning flakes and do some cosmetic work, but I'm not going to, just because I'm going to show you just the sharpening. Okay, I'm just going to show you only the sharpening. So if you're wondering if there's some cosmetic work that I could be doing, I could be making it thinner in some spots and all that, you're correct. But I'm just going to be showing you the sharpening. That's it. Okay, I want to repeat that because some people don't hear it the first time, which is fine. I don't mind repeating. Most of the time I don't mind it. Now in this case, I am going to use some of this void here to get this plate to go free, because it's going to be kind of long. I don't want anything to interfere with that flake. That's just because I didn't like that lump there. So, but now back to the just little bitty flakes. And yeah, there's more pressure if there's thickness. Remember, I'm trying to create little bulbs of pressure, scooping it out. Okay. Down here, I can just leave it. Some of the artifacts, they don't go back and pick at the edge, but I'm going to pick at the edge, especially up near the tip. Get rid of anything in between that's dull. Okay, so this is the most important part of the tip. The parallel sides don't matter all that much. And if I did it right, I should have scoop outs on either side. Let me see. I don't know why it's focusing on my gloves and not the point. Let me take my gloves off. If I did it right, I'm going to have scoop outs on this side and the other side. And if you want to get nickety about it, like they did on the Eden points and stuff, you'll see it'll be wavy like this. They intentionally took a flake here and here on those Eden points, and then they looked at where the ridge was, and they took a flake exactly opposite that. And then they looked and see where the next one was, and then they came in and they took a flake opposite the ridge. And they were very persnickety and very delicate about it. And if they needed to grind a little spot, I guess they would have to grind a little spot so they could push a flake off in a very regular way. I did not do it like that. I didn't even look at this side. I just was pushing off flakes. Okay? But if you want to imitate an Eden point, you got to look to see where there's a ridge on the other side. That's where you push off a flake on this side, and you end up with a wavy edge. But it's bifacial sharpening, just like I did. I did random bifacial sharpening, but you can do, I guess what they call is regular or planned bifacial sharpening, where you look for ridges and you take off a flake opposite that ridge. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I'll go into the Cody point type stuff when I do a Cody point, but just so you know, okay? The Cody and the Edens fall into this bifacial sharpening technique. It's a modification of this bifacial sharpening technique, or you can consider it a refinement of it, okay? But when I sell these items, I always go down and get rid of all the dull spots. And I make the edge nice and straight. I look on both sides. And if there's something sticking out, bye-bye. Yeah. And I should come up with a fairly good edge. Now, I should probably pay more attention to scooping out this edge on both sides more than I did. How do you achieve more of a scoop out? Just with more inward pressure. But you got to be careful because it's easy to step fracture. When you're scooping that out, you can end up with step fractures. So I made sure, or I tried to make sure, I did get a couple step fractures, tried to make sure I didn't do any step fracturing at all. So the scoop outs are not going to be as pronounced. Okay? But it should be much thinner than that unmodified or the unsharpened edge. This is the unsharpened side. This is the sharpened side. Okay? We should have scoop outs on either side. On here, we're just gonna have that percussion edge. We did a lot of percussion work. There's some pressure in between here, and there. But you see how wonky it is? And that's nice and straight. And much sharper. Okay, so I demonstrated, I guess, 4 different sharpenings, right? The first is you just downward pressure only on one side only. Just one pass down one side. That'll do it. The next technique is to do it bifacially. Downward pressure on both sides. The next technique is you grind off that sharp edge and you do longer flakes with the intent of scooping out material near the edge. And you can do that down one side only. That's a technique. Or do it bifacially. That's the other technique. So there's 4. Downward pressure only on one side. Downward pressure on both sides. And then longer flakes on one side. You scoop out the area just under the edge on one side only, or you can do it on both sides. Okay? Are there other ways yes, there are other advanced techniques for sharpening, and it depends on the point style. In some cases, some point styles have unique sharpening looks to them. Like, for example, in Texas, there's something called an early triangular. The sharpening technique is different than this, that produces an extremely thin edge. This is fairly thick compared to the early triangular edges. And I think what they were doing is just much longer pressure flakes with more pronounced bulbs that would really thin down the edge, and they would do it oblique. So this is mostly just inward. This is not oblique. Okay, these oblique flakings and the extremely thin and lots of scooping out are advanced techniques. And I only use those if I'm trying to imitate a specific kind of artifact. Okay? So when I say there's many different ways to sharpen these, and they're all proper, that is correct. But I just showed you the four, let's say the easiest. Okay? And the ones that I use primarily when I'm making items to sell. Okay? All right. So what else do I do? What else could I do on this? Or let's see if I missed something. Can I go into these individual advanced techniques? Take deep dives into each advanced technique that I see? Well, it's easier if I have the artifact cast so that I can compare, right? I can do that, but let's see. Here's an artifact cast. And I try to do a reproduction of the sharpening on one of my videos using natural tools to get this effect. You can see that it's mostly favored on one side on the sharpening, and it's starting to develop a bevel. This is a cast of an actual artifact. See that? So either this is resharpened a couple times, or they intentionally put a bevel on that with a couple of passes. You can see how mine is just very flakery. This has bold flakes, and it's got pronounced areas between the bold flakes. See that? Now I think some of these pronounced areas are incidental. When I was doing this type of sharpening, I think that it happens incidentally, but then you can learn to do it also to achieve that effect on purpose. It happens incidentally just by spacing these big flakes out, but if you think it looks kind of cool, you can actually do that on purpose. Okay? And you can see that some of these, they got the edge pretty thin in between these pronounced areas. But if you look at the cast, this little pronounced area is dull. That pronounced area is dull. These pronounced areas are dull. They're rounded off. They're not sharp. In between is nice and sharp. But for some reason, they didn't care about them being sharp on the very tips. And yeah, the cast is extremely accurate. How they get it so accurate, I don't know. But it's extremely accurate. I've seen casts and compare them to the real items, and they're very, very accurate. Okay? That's just one example. There are different ways to sharpen. All right. I think I've said that enough times. I'm going to do the other edge on this. Yeah. It bugs me to see only one edge sharpened. Yeah. Besides, I see some areas that could be thinned down. So I'm going to use some percussion on it too. And then I'll check the chat. How's that? Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to take some pressure flakes off before I do anything because it's really wonky. Yeah, let me get this edge a little bit better. So yeah, I'm going to lose a lot of viewers, but I'm just going to quickly improve this whole thing. Then I'll check the chat and I'll figure out what I'm going to do on the second hour. I'm using my high-powered glasses. If I'm breathing, I noticed I was breathing into the microphone on the last video because I'm so close to the camera. I have to be really close to the camera to see with these high-powered glasses. It forces me to get really up close to the workpiece, and then therefore I'm close to the camera as well. Pardon me if I'm breathing into the camera or into the microphone. I apologize. It bugs me when I'm watching my own videos. I can imagine how it bugs you, or I can imagine that it would. Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of a boogery spot there. That did not do it. So I'm going to force it to do it. Yeah, so I need to get rid of that mess. So I got to grind the edge a lot. I think I'm going to take some percussion flakes after I improve that edge a little bit. I'm going to move the edge toward the obstacles by downward force here. Downward pressure flakes. And I'll look at the chat in a minute and I'll try to answer any questions. And when I do that, if I miss your question, just ask it again, please. Don't ask, hey, did you see my question? Because obviously I didn't. Just ask it again. It makes it much easier. So yeah, just fair warning. It'd be better if you just cut and paste or copy your question with a copy. And that way you don't have to retype it. You can just paste it later if I missed it. So I'm going to do some percussion flaking on that. Yes, yes. It's not perfect because it's at center line. But I think I can do it. See, I should have dropped this edge a little bit more. But I think I can still do it. Because I take shortcuts. Let's see. Yeah, that one worked pretty good. And that one didn't do anything. Still not doing anything. Come on. So I had to move over quite a bit. I think I smashed the edge. See, I hit that a couple of times and it didn't do anything. I still need to get that out of there. There might be a tough spot or something. I took one there. That worked pretty good. Let's see if I can hit that again. I should be able to knock that out of there. Should. Like that. Yeah. It required more force, but it also scooped out a lot more. Oh well. I can fix it. Now, can I do the beveling and the sharpening with indirect percussion, you might ask? That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked. The answer is yes. I can do what I did with pressure with the indirect percussion. Oh, yes. Now, it's not going to be as nice because percussion has a tendency to overkill or miss or smash, right? Pressure is a lot more controllable, but it can still be done. I can still sharpen with the percussion, indirect percussion. Okay, come on. I want a big flake. I want to flatten that area right there. Yes. Yeah. A little bit better. Okay. Still not as thin as I would like it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like that. It's a little bit too dangerous. Yeah, like that. I'm gonna try to get this as thin as possible. Yeah, like that. I wish it would behave. I wish that focus would behave. So I took off a series of flakes. I can do that with smaller flakes also and produce a bevel or any kind of sharpening. It just won't be as nice as the pressure flaking. Unless I practice a lot. I can get it pretty good. Eventually I can match the quality of the pressure flaking with the indirect percussion, but it just takes a long time to get used to it, to being so precise. Okay, I think that's as thin as I want to go. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yep. Big flake. Now, I'm not describing this because I already went over this in previous videos. Okay? You're going to have to rewatch the other live streams. You know, the ones I just recently did. You don't have to go way back in the past and look forever. Just look for the ones that say tutorial here in the thumbnail. And yeah, they're 2 hours long each, but do you want to learn how to do this or not? Some don't. You know, that's fine. Some just watch this to go to sleep or maybe to be entertained for a few minutes. That's okay. But if you want to learn how to do this, or see it done at least so you can see the potential, then watch the whole live stream. Yeah. I give it some time. I don't monetize the live stream right away. So you shouldn't see ads on the first day or two. But after that, the viewership goes way down. So that's when I monetize, or that's when I turn on the monetization. If you wait too long, you might see ads. Anyway, that's about as thin as I want to go with this. And it was, you know, in the middle here, it originally was very thin. It was very bulky on the ends. I remember this one. It was very bulky on the ends. Okay, so I took some time and I just thinned this out to show you the potential, I guess. These areas are different consistencies. This is different from that, and different from this, and different from that. So there's like 4 different major areas on here that are different from each other as far as nappability. Where you see it's nice and clear here, and then through there, and then here, this clear brownish looking stuff, that naps really easily in comparison to this area or this area. This is the worst, and then this is the second worst, or this is not as bad as that. Okay, and this and this are very similar down here, but this one is better than that one as far as nappability. This area is a little bit better. So this has a lot of variability in it. So you have to make slight adjustments. What are those adjustments? I don't know. I don't remember. I just go by feel. I kind of experiment. If something's not working, I try something a little bit different in these different areas. And sometimes I make a mistake and I take too much off. See that? I didn't realize this would nap so well. So I took way too much off. And it did have some like step fracturing going on, so I had to blast away a lot of the edge to get rid of it. But it still blasted away a little bit too much. Yeah. Anyways. Okay, I'm gonna check the chat. This has some translucency, I think, too. Hold on. Yeah. It's got that little spot in the middle there. It's not that translucent there, but when you get down to these other areas, it is more translucent. There's a spot right there. Look at that. Nice. You can't tell. You can tell just slightly that there's crystal pockets. And the light shines through really easily on those. Okay, anyways. I don't know. I just think that's interesting. It has nothing to do too much with the napping. Okay, so let me check the chat. What did I miss? Looking pretty good, I guess. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So someone's leaving. Tommy. Mark Vance says, nice one. Do you heat treat any of your material? Yes, I do. None of this is heat treated though, right? None of the stuff tonight is heat treated. I don't think these are heat treats. Yeah, I don't think either one of these are heat treats, but I did do some heat treats last night. I'm pretty sure both of these were heat treated, especially this one here. It's got that glossy look to it. It looks like heat treated amoeba chert from Texas. I did not heat treat these myself. These were challenge rocks. Yeah, these were all bifaces and slabs or all kinds of different kind of things, I think. Made by other nappers and given to me as gifts, and I just refined it down. Okay, that's what I did last night. But I don't heat treat too often these days. I'm lucky that I get lots of heat treats from friends or I buy them already heat treated. If you want to know how I do it, you just type in Jack Crafty heat treat and I've got videos on how I do it. That diagonal flake took out 2 hinges. It was like Jordan for a 3 kind of shot. Mark Gibbons. It's funny. Yep, sometimes I get lucky. Let's see. Mikael says, no sleep for me, so background working it is. Awesome. Alvin says, +5 sharp blade. Come on, almost +10. You must be talking about Minecraft or something. See, Eric Kitty says, I guess I need to shorten the copper on my indirect tool that I made. I guess so. Ken Winton, Patrick, do you know what kind of stone the original of the cast point was? I think they can say that it's in English as well. I just know it was a chert. It's from Belize, and there's plenty of cherts in Belize. The cherts in Belize kind of resemble coastal plains chert from Georgia and that area. This was made from a chert that's a light color like this. It's not a white chert, I don't think. The real one. I saw pictures of the real one, and it's just a light colored chert. And it wouldn't do any good to know the name of the chert. Just it does help to know that it is chert and not obsidian. All right, let's see. Feather Frontiersman. Wow, Pat, we have very different strategies on sharpening. You keep it shallow and scoop. On something I'm actually doing to hunt with, I do big serrations. Set the bevel at 45 and pop the teeth in. Yeah, I mean, I didn't go over serrations. I just went over the 4 easiest way to do it. If you want to add serrations in, that's one of the advanced techniques. Okay, there are many ways to sharpen. Just because I did it that way doesn't mean those are the only ways that sharpening can be done. Yeah. I mean, I have the same view of sharpening that you do when it comes to putting in those kinds of serrations. I'll do the 45 and pop these flakes. Same thing. Mr. Iron says, I guess anyways, who am I to know what it is just because that's what was told to me when I got it? It's like black glass but stone. It's dark, really can't see through it unless it's really bright lights. Yeah, it sounds like obsidian. Yeah, it's a cast from artifact that's from South America. This is a cast from Belize. Belize. Transitional. Paleo. I forgot the actual name of the point. Belize is a country, okay? Some people don't know that Belize is a country. They think it's a city or something. It's next to Mexico on the Yucatan Peninsula. And this is a transitional paleo. Yes, you see that correct. That does say paleo. The beginnings of these were made at the same time as the endings of the Clovis period. This period where these were made begins where Clovis ends, but they overlap slightly. Okay? So these Clovis and these existed at the same time for a period of time. Okay? All right. Let's see, where are we going? What do we do? What do we do? Let's see. Jake is here. Gulf Coast Knapping is here. You missed it. Texas has removed all restrictions on broadheads. Sweet. I think they did that a while ago, actually. Like a few years back, at least. All right, so what do I do next? People were thinking that this is amoeba chert. This is not amoeba, I don't think. No, this is just regular road rock chert. But it's similar to amoeba. Yeah. Unless you see a lot of crystal pockets in the amoeba, which I don't see a lot of crystal pockets in amoeba cherts. I could be wrong. There are some, but on this particular piece, it's similar, but it's not quite. It doesn't nap like amoeba chert. That's what I'm trying to say. It might look like it, but it doesn't nap like it. It's too inconsistent. Yeah. And it's not snap and halfish. A lot of amoeba chert is very snap and halfish. This one's held up really well. I was able to knock off some big flakes, big thinning flakes when it was already thin. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just make something out of this. I need to fix that tip. It's bugging me. So yeah, we went through all the stages this week. We went and did bifaces first, and then preliminary thinning on the next live stream, and then after that we did secondary thinning, and then yesterday we did edging, notching, and final finishing all together. And we even matched these in weight. They're like 105 grains each, very close to 105 grains each. And I used a template. And if you weren't here last night, you missed it. I used that cardboard cutout template as a pattern for these. Okay, see how they match? Okay. Now I could make more of these, but it gets kind of tedious, and I think everyone would basically be tired of the whole thing if I continued making more and more of these. Just the same old over and over again. And the technique I use to sharpen these is the one I just demonstrated. It's the scooping out on both sides, the bifacial sharpening, I think. Wait a second. I'm pretty sure you bifaced. Well, maybe not. Did I do it on both sides? Maybe I didn't on this one. This one looks like I sharpened it with flaking on both sides. This one looks more like I tried to bevel it. Yeah. So I concentrated mostly on this side. Yeah. So I kind of beveled on this one. But I bifaced it on this one. Yeah, okay. I'm going to fix this one up. All right, so I can talk about anything I want now. Yeah, I'm done explaining. Let's see, what do I do here? What am I doing here? It's ground down a lot because of the pressure. I mean, the percussion flaking. So you just have to you'll just have to see me show you how to do this without explaining it. The more I explain it, the worse the odds are of, you know, success. The worse the odds of success, the more I try to explain this. So I combine different things. I'll try sharpening here and there. And thin here and there. I don't know. I'm pretty random if I'm just left to my own devices, so to speak. I'll be very opportunistic, and I won't do it methodically. I'll just look at it and I'll see something that bugs me, and I'll work on it to make it better. And I'll go from doing some simple flaking to more advanced flaking here and there, depending on what I need. I think that's the fun part about random type of knapping. It doesn't get boring if you just attack the spots that are bugging you, that need to be fixed, and just spend the whole time fixing problems instead of trying to focus on being methodical and doing it the same way every time and by some sort of checklist. I'm just looking at what needs to be fixed at any one time, and everything is pretty much damage control. The way I nap. The way I nap to have fun napping. Yeah. If I'm making something to a specification, it's not fun, but you can make some good money making these points and blades to a customer specification. Yeah. I just don't have any fun doing that, and it gets overwhelming, especially if everything starts breaking. You start getting behind, and it spirals into everything breaking even more, because the more you break, the more stress and the more time you're wasting. And the more stress you have and the faster you try to go, the more you end up breaking still. So there's no real cure. You get into a spiraling negative effect once you start breaking stuff. Yep. What can seemingly be a simple customer order, if like you have an off day and things start breaking, and then you're not productive for a couple of days and you start falling behind, it just spirals into complete misery. Just so you know. Some people don't have much of an issue with that. They don't get the anxiety that some other people get. If things start going south, they don't get the anxiety, which helps a lot. If you don't get the anxiety, your brain still works correctly, and you're able to compensate. Okay, you're able to figure it out. But if you get anxiety and stress and all that, your brain starts to have problems thinking properly. Yeah. How do I know? I don't know. I get more done if everything's just completely random. And I'm not grinding very much, if you've noticed. All right, so it looks like we're at the stage where I can do some notching. It still needs to be sharpened, but I've got the general outline done. I got it as thin as I want to go with it for the most part. I might get more picky a little bit later because I still see some spots that don't look right. I don't know if I should try to thin that or not. But anyway, I might put this in brokes and bifaces because I can't get this thin down as much as I want. But I can still put notches in it or do something. Yeah. But I'll check the chat first. Let's see. Explore Florida. I sometimes get ready to nap something cool, then I'll pick up the most random thing and start napping instead. Oh, yeah, that's many such occasions. Suffering is optional. Yep, I guess so. For you. Ran so far away says best tool to hunt mammoth. Yeah. How many times have you hunted mammoth? Tell us. Tell us about hunting mammoth. Yeah, Stoneface is always asking me pain and suffering. Still pending says I'm okay with just observing. Yeah, most people that watch my live streams and watch my videos are in that boat. They're satisfied with just watching. That's fine. One O'Neill Merritt. Jake, were you Jake's live stream? You guys were watching Jake earlier? What did he make? What was he working on? I didn't see. Let's see. Road Rock still has a nice variety. Road Rock still has nice variety. Yep. Let's see here. What else we got? Barnett says mammoth would probably be a Clovis point. That's what they say when, you talk to people that have hunted mammoths, right? Have you talked to anyone that's hunted mammoths with Clovis points? Or that's just all speculation, right? Or no? You think it's subtle science that they use Clovises to hunt mammoths with? Let's see. Ken Winton says, I hunt mammoth all the time, but just never found any. Alan Bartholomew says, Jack Crafty is my holy arrowhead prophet. Thank you. Mike Mason says he used to kill his mammoths with fire. Yeah. I guess trapping didn't exist back in mammoth days. I guess you couldn't trap the mammoths. Or you couldn't, set their fur on fire and watch them go crazy. I guess that wasn't a thing either. Or maybe spear them when they're out in the water. Or drown them. You chase them into the water and then, drown them somehow. I saw this one video on guys that were hunting hippopotamuses, and they would be killing the hippopotamuses in the water, and they would be using spears and stuff and ropes. They would use ropes and spears, and what were they doing? I need to find that video again, because it was scary, because the hippopotamus is an excellent swimmer, but they still managed to kill it in the water. Yeah, forget about trying it on land, because that hippopotamus will run down any human it wants. It can run faster than people. But in the water, you can go faster in a boat. Let's see. Flakescar says he combines his mammoth hunts with Bigfoot hunts, and they are usually found together. Oh, yes. They share hair grooming tips. Oh, yes. How do I know? Well, the guys that saw the Clovis being used to hunt mammoths told me. Yeah. Let's see. I sometimes get ready to... Okay. So that's it, right? Mark Gibbons says, anyone thought that maybe booby traps were rigged with bows and arrows and the hunter could just chill while the booby trap killed their mammoth? Well, they didn't have bows and arrows like they did later on. They might have had bows and arrows during the mammoth days, but I don't think they were the same kind of bows and arrows. But what do I know? But there are traps you can set up to have like little crossbows. You know, the bow attached to a stick, so it looks similar to a crossbow. Mark says, the young men who wanted to learn would carry the Napper's rocks, bring him firewood and meat, and listen to his stories. Yeah, that makes sense. But who knows? Maybe they had Flintknapping schools where they didn't have to bring the teacher nothing. You just were expected to show up. You better show up, or you'd be punished. Yeah. You don't show up for napping school, you don't get no dinners. How's that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. So what kind of notching am I going to do? Super cool, awesome, and fantastic notching, as always. Yeah, you didn't know? Now you know. So it's a challenge night, so I'm working on the most challenging piece. See, this is not napping at all like amoeba chirp. Not here, anyway. Up here, maybe, yes. But amoeba chirp is a good guess for this particular type of stuff. And who knows? It could be a variety of nasty amoeba chirp. It's not all the same. And if you think this is cool stuff and you want some of it, good luck. Yeah, you'll have to look around quite a bit. If you have connections to people that own private property with this kind of rock on it. Yeah, I think this is West Texas road rock. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. And I don't keep track because it doesn't matter. I make adjustments to nap it. If it's tough, I gotta make the adjustments. If it's easy, I'll make the adjustment. Yeah, you make adjustments for every type of rock. I don't make the adjustment ahead of time. I make it while I'm napping. So let's say that I knew this was exactly a certain type of chert, I might say to myself, well, now that I know exactly what it is, I'm going to make my mental adjustments before I start napping. And that should work perfectly. Yeah. Guess what? It often does not. You'll go, man, this doesn't nap like the stuff I was napping the other day, and it has a tough spot in it. I shouldn't make a judgment before I start napping, should I? Nope. I think it'd be smarter if I don't make any judgments at all. I shouldn't judge the rock by its cover. Yeah. Has that happened to me? I don't know. Have I judged rock by its cover? Oh, yes. Have I regretted it? Yes, every single time. I've always regretted judging a rock by its cover. Always. I wait until I'm actually napping it to make any kind of adjustments or judgments or picking tools or anything like that. Or adjusting the tips or anything. I don't make any adjustments to any of my tools or pick any type of tool at all until I've actually started napping. And I go, oh, okay, so this is what it's going to do. I see what you're doing. I see what you're going to do. Let's see what kind of tool can make me win at this game. Yeah. And once you see what the rock's going to do, make the adjustment for the best chance of success. And yeah, I watch other people's videos, Flintknapping videos. They don't really discuss all that. I guess they think it's not important. I don't know. I think it's important to discuss something like you can't judge a rock by its cover. I think it's important to discuss that and to keep emphasizing that and say it over and over and over again. Because that has helped me a lot. It's helped me a lot to just wait until I'm actually napping it. I'm not even paying attention to what kind of rock it is. Or what the name of it is, I mean. Yeah. Like, especially Georgetown. Yeah. In my case, I don't make any judgments on any kind of Georgetown until I start napping that stuff. It always is just a little bit off from what I think it's going to do. Yeah. What? I misjudged that notch. Dang. Yeah, I misjudged that a lot. I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. Oh, well. I can't seem to see where this is going to be asymmetrical. First, I thought it was too low, and then I raised it up a little bit, and it's too high now. And I'm going to need to double glove it with chert. Yeah. I'm going to make a big bloody mess everywhere. Okay. Yeah, one of these days I'll mark these with a marker so I can get the symmetry just right. I blew out both the barb and the ear on this side. Because I thought I knew where to start. And I didn't. So I'm just going to make the notch and not worry too much about the placement. It's already kind of messed up. Oh, this is loose also. That affects the napping a lot. With me, if this is loose in any way, that affects the napping a lot. Oh yeah, very loose. Okay. There we go. Now I can use the full amount of force. Right? Yes. Okay, so what do I talk about? Well, I gotta make sure I don't talk about anything that's gonna get me riled up. Yeah. Talking about what other guys talk about on their videos. Or what they don't talk about. Sometimes I'm disappointed. Yeah. It's usually interesting, of course, but sometimes it's like, okay, time to watch something else. Let's watch the live streams where you've got these people feeding fish and making street tacos. Yeah, those are interesting. Or no? Except you don't make street tacos. What were they making the last time I saw? On one of these other live streams, I scrolled through a bunch of other live streams. Yeah, I scrolled through some live streams while I was doing the live stream. Yeah, because I checked it. I checked the live stream on my phone, on my other phone. I got two phones now. One is filming this, and the other I use to check the live stream. But I can also scan around and see what other people are doing on their live streams. Yeah, and I don't know why, but the algorithm wants to show me people making street food, people feeding fish and animals, or cutting lumber, or making these weird faces, these literal clowns. Why the algorithm shows me that stuff, I don't know. Well, I understand the wood cutting. I look at a lot of sawmill type of videos. Why sawmill? Well, those are mainly for just relaxing. I like watching sawmill videos and just relaxing. Because it's very mesmerizing when you see the wood being cut. I don't know why. And you kind of imagine where they're going to make the cuts next to get their lumber out of that particular log or whatever. You got to see. Maybe he'll cut it this way or that way. He's going to do this or that. He's going to roll the log. Pick another side. You know, all these things that you're looking at, they get distracted and kind of escape from reality for a little while. Yeah. Maybe some guys do that with the Flintknapping too. Just watch the Flintknapping and escape from the reality for a little while. Yeah. Watch Flintknapping videos while you take the kids to Chick-fil-A. Yeah. Because you don't want to see them stuffing their face at 60 miles an hour at Chick-fil-A. You already finished them nuggets? That was a 10-piece nugget. Dad, I told you. It's my favorite. Yeah, but that was like a 10-piece, and I didn't even see one of them. It was by the time I looked over, you had already finished them. What did they look like? It seems like the nuggets over at Chick-fil-A have been getting smaller and smaller every year. Last time I went, they were tiny. Now, I don't eat them. When I go visit my kids, one of my sons, that's his favorite. And I looked and I said, man, are these getting smaller? I don't know, Dad. Don't care. Don't know, don't care. Okay, fine. I bet you they are getting smaller. I bet you. That's the way it goes. And they got plausible deniability because they can say, well, they look bigger because you were a little kid. Yeah, well, I wasn't a little kid when I was taking my kids to Chick-fil-A. I never went to Chick-fil-A when I was little. The only time I went to Chick-fil-A is when I was a full-grown adult. So I think they're getting smaller. Yeah. They look like popcorn chicken now. Is this good enough? It's almost good enough. Yeah. I think I still am going to put this in the Brooks and Buy faces because it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of a generic looking thing because I default to this shape a lot. I could try to make it look like something from Texas because this is Texas rock, but nah. Besides, sometimes it's cool to add a little variety to the Brooks and Buy faces and not just have broken pieces and Buy faces. Let's see how it looks. I still got 20 minutes. Dang, too much time. What am I going to do with all this time? It's amazing that I judged the distance of that neck to match the piece of wood. It's amazing. How did I know? It's not like I've been using this foreshaft forever. Yeah. That's straight. For some reason, it doesn't get straight. Yeah, I like it. Am I going to haft it with some real hafting glue? Get out the torch and I have it. I have the torch. Butane gas cartridge. Full fitting flame. 3F. I could think of another 3Fs, but oh well. See that? I can do the torch thing on this. I actually haft it with real glue. Yeah. But you know what? I'm not gonna because you want me to do it. If you want me to do it, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna sit here and smoke my chocolate cigar. Yeah. It's really good. If I'm in the mood for sweets, which I usually am not when it's a cigar. It's just a weird thing. Cigars and sweets, for me, they don't go together. I have to be in a certain mood. Yeah. All right, so that's what I would have to in. Yeah, nice. It's a spear tip. Imagine that. It is a spear tip this time. Let's see. Mark Gibbons says, could you imagine how a 160-pound bow tied to a tree, hooked to a tripwire, two men could pull it back while the third ties the trip line, big ass bolt, huge arrowhead, and just saying, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. I made another template today. I made this after a friend of mine showed me a picture of this really delicate arrowhead that had these really skinny barbs and the bifurcated base. This is an exaggeration of the one that he has, except for the tip. The tip is not exaggerated at all. But the notching is exaggerated on this. But I made the template so I wouldn't forget that I want to make some very delicate bird points. I might attempt this tomorrow night. Okay? With really deep notches, really delicate flared barbs, and a bifurcated base, all within the lower part of this arrowhead. Yeah. And it's about this size too, I think, according to the picture he sent me. I'm going to try to do some delicate bird points on Friday nights. And I think this is going to be one of my first. And I think this is called a CUNY, but there's also Sabinal, but I don't think Sabinals have that center notch. Anyways, I am going to attempt a very delicate bird point tomorrow night. I had a piece of flake go down under my fingernail the other day. That's worse than getting cut when you get a flake that goes down in under your fingernail. So, what else is going on in the chat? Let's see. It looks like the Eiffel Tower. Oh yes. Yep. It's you'd be amazed at some of these arrowheads from Texas. Of course, the internet culture will say that the technology for Flintknapping went downhill as time goes on. Internet culture will say that, yeah, the quality of the Flintknapping decreased after the awesome, tremendous, and fantastic paleo period. Yeah, and they say that's just a fact. Well, they weren't making these during the paleo era, something that delicate with natural tools, right? Yeah. You should look at, they should look at some of the Hohokam points. Yeah, but they don't. They don't look at anything that's not in line with what the culture says. The culturalists. Yeah. All right, so what do we do now? I still got 15 minutes. Should I work on the Knife River? I should work on Knife River, Flint. Somebody just took a screenshot of this. I need to take a screenshot of it too. Yeah. KRF. Yeah, let's do some KRF. What's KRF? It's this stuff. Knife River Flint from North Dakota. And where did we get it? We're not going to tell you where to get it because someone will drive up and take it all or take most of it, and then it'll be gone forever. Okay? We need to preserve these things. Preserve the quarries for future generations. So what am I doing? Well, I'm going to be working on the symmetry. I was looking at some North Dakota points and some points that are found in Montana. I just forget the names. But they're pretty much corner notched and side notch points. I'm going to look in the book in a minute. I'm doing that preliminary type of easy edge sharpening with just downward pressure, but it's not really sharpening in this case because it's just the first step in setting it up to thin it down more. Yeah, but it can be used this way. This is sufficient sharpening to be used for hunting, but that's not why I did it just now. I did it to straighten that edge out and take off lumps near the edge. Once I grind this, I can drive more flakes in and thin this down more if I want. I don't know if I want to thin it down more, though. We'll see. I'm going to look in the book in a minute to see what kind of arrowhead I'm thinking about, or what kind of arrowhead I'm going to decide to make. Let's see. Most of that stuff will probably have data centers built on top. Well, what they're thinking about doing is putting the data centers in space. There's a lot more room in space, and that there are easier ways to cool down the equipment in space. Okay, and it's something that is not too far. You can put it not too far from the source. You just put it in geosynchronous orbit above where it's going to be used. Yeah. They're going to put a lot of these data centers in space, in orbit. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But it is, you can see the cronyism in where they're going to be placed. Yeah. You know, where they're going to be placed on land. There's a lot of money to be made from the electricity demands of the data centers, because you charge the data center for the electricity it uses. Who gets that money? Whoever owns the power company gets the money that the data center has to pay out for the use of the electricity and the use of the water, use of all the services. The data center is going to have to pay for that stuff. There's a lot of money there. Okay, so let's see here. See, if they make the data centers look like they're real bad, you won't complain when it's put in a certain area. They say, oh, those unlucky people, dang it. You know, someone's getting rich. Some of those unlucky people in that area are going to get very rich. Okay, so let's see. Where do I do? Oh, yeah. Northern Plains, far west, FW. All right, let's see. We're going to look to see where the cool designs are. These are Oregon. Let's see. Far west. I don't know if that probably is not going to encompass North Dakota, South Dakota. No, it's Northern Plains, Northern High Plains, I think NP. Where's NP? Yeah. I don't know. I was looking at Far West the other day. Oh, yeah, here's some of the stuff. Basant. I can make a Basant, but these are not fancy. But North Dakota, Knife River Flint. Montana, Colorado, Montana. North Dakota, Knife River Flint. And I can make a Basant. Yeah, I'm within range. But we'll see if there's something more fancy than that. Yeah, we got lots of stuff. Avonlea. I think this was an arrow point. No? Yeah, I think these are arrow points, the Avonlea. And I think these are Knife River. Parallel flaking. Oh, that's obsidian. These are Montanas. Okay. These are all Montana. Let's look and see what else. No, don't look at that because there's parallel flaking. We don't want to do Andersons or anything like that. Those are too persnickety for us. How about Glendo Arrow? Galt? Mummy Cave? We could do Mummy Cave. Where is Mummy Cave from? MNO. I went way past it. Mummy Cave. Yeah, one of these. Now let's see if there's Knife River. These are Wyoming, Colorado. Oh, dang. Where's North Dakota? There's a North Dakota, but I made one of these already. It's Oxbow, right? But they forgot to put the name there. How do I know it's Oxbow? I think they have it on the other side. Yeah, see, they have it here. Oxbow Continue. I made one of these for the auction. I could make another one. Nebraska, Montana. Let's see. Eric Kitty says they look ugly. They're super loud and they poison the water. They drain the grid. Why can't we do away with data centers altogether? Why can't we do away with them? Industry needs them. When we bring industry back into the country, what do you think is going to be running all those machines? What do you think is going to be running all of our live streams? The internet just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Something is going to have to regulate, not regulate, but, produce content or produce the access to the content and store whatever we're watching. Yeah, because everyone's got histories. All right, so I'm just going to do side notch. Yeah. Let me see. See, I could do side notches similar to these over here. Yeah, just drive them straight in. It's been a while since I've driven them straight in like this. Montana. I think some of these were made in plain side notch. I think some of these were North Dakota. I'm just going to pretend, yeah. We'll do a side notch. But I've got to take down, I'm going to make the side straight on near the base first before I do the notching. So thinning down the edges a little bit. Okay. And this is tough material, so it's not going to be that easy to put the side notches in. But I'm going to do it. Yeah. We'll see. It's still kind of thick. Maybe I should pre-notch it. I mean, pre-thin it before I notch it. That might be a good idea. Ken Winton says, gotta go. Good night. All right, Ken. We'll see you next time. See, Eric Kitty says, like, yeah, there are standard cloud data centers, but new data centers are for AI services, and that's its own beast entirely. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna pre-thin this so that the notching will go better. In theory, the notching should go better if I pre-thin this. That was not a notching pre-thinning flake. That was to get rid of a lump. Yikes, this stuff is tough. Yeah, like that. That thinned it down pretty good, but it took a chunk out. This is fine. It's worth it. Yeah. I need to get that area thinned down for the notches, for sure. It'll make it easier for me to put in some narrow notches, or as narrow as I can go. I might not be able to get it really narrow. We shall see. Yikes. I say yikes because it takes an awful lot of force to get those flakes to travel. And luckily the knife river is not snap in half-ish. It's one of those materials that is very strong. You can abuse it. It will not snap in half. Normally, it doesn't. It can get to the point where you grind it and really try to smack it hard, and then it'll break in half. But for the most part, I'm not even worried about that. All right, so yeah, I'm just going to do some random thinning here. As I thin down the base, I want to make sure I have a nice taper. So I'm just going to work on the taper a little bit. And then we'll get to the notching. Yes, yes. Okay. Oh yeah, I gotta show you my new air filter. Big old air filtration unit. That way I don't have to worry about hacking up a lung this winter. Last winter was brutal. I could tell there was so much dust in the shop because I can't open the doors and stuff in winter. So the dust just stays in the shop. And I didn't want to invest in a big old air filter at that time. I had some other obligations, so I bought it as soon as I could. I think it's 500 cubic feet per minute. Yeah, they can filter out that much. And I had it running in the house just to make sure it was working. And it can be nice and quiet if I put it on the low setting, so I can still have it running during a video if I want. If it's a very dusty material that I'm working with. All right, so I thinned it down some more, and I think I'm going to put the notches in. Yeah. Okay. I'm at the 2-hour mark already. Dang it. Well, let's see. Well, some of these, the notches are kind of high up there, high up on the side. So let me just start this side and look to see if I can match it on the other side. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the edges are kind of wonky right now, but I can fix that later. All right. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the notching right there. I'm going to drive them straight in. Probably going to have to keep filing this down quite a bit in between because the knife river eats the steel for lunch. Oh yeah. Yeah, it helps a lot when you've got nice, well-maintained tools. The fresh metal makes a big difference, especially on tough stone. Yeah, the tougher it is, the better your tools need to be, for sure. How would they do this without steel? I really don't know. There's got to be some materials out there that are super strong, or they use copper. Either they found some bones or something that were really, really strong and they would shape into their tools, or they would use little pieces of copper. Dang it, I don't like that sound. I was watching one video where talking about tribes in the Southwest United States drinking chocolate from Central and South America. Yeah, they had trade networks set up so they can get chocolate in the Southwest United States. Hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the chocolate plants. And they would also import the chocolate. They import copper bells, little copper bells, and other rare items like tropical bird feathers. All this stuff from Central and South America, hundreds and hundreds of miles away. And what I got interested in was, wait a second, they would import copper bells. They must have also had like copper awls, little picks, copper picks that they can pick at stuff with sharpening blades. Yeah, why not? Putting notches in blades. If they were going to use copper for something as simple as bells, why not for something more important like stone knives and arrowheads? I don't think bells could produce food. Nope. I've never seen a bell that could, kill a deer. I mean, it might attract them, bring them in. I don't know. Anyways, is that good enough? I could try a little bit more. Francis says, can you show us the most usable one? The most usable one of what? The most usable tool? Anyone else have to mute while he's filing the notcher? Yeah, the metal on metal filing. Yeah. It's like nails on a chalkboard for sure. It doesn't always sound that way though. Just for some reason it's doing that tonight. Anyway, I don't want to go any deeper than that. Why? Because you want me to make deeper notches. That's why I'm not going to do it. Because you want me to. Come on, these things don't. There it is. Stubborn. Come on. I know you. You're just stubborn. You don't mean to do that. You're just stubborn. Anyways. I lost my place in the book. But we can still, we don't need no book. We can still do this without the book. But we're going to do it tomorrow night. I've already reached the 2-hour limit. Okay? So, we got plans for tomorrow night. I'm going to try to make one of these, and I'm going to finish this out. Yeah. I've already got the notch depth, and it's not crushed at the bottom, at least not too badly. Yeah, nice pop outs. Sorry about the filing noises. I might try some regular flaking on this, or parallel type flaking. Maybe. I kind of like the big bold flakes. I like these better than the little persnicketies. Okay, so this is for tomorrow night. We're just going to put that aside, and I'm going to check the chat. All right, so we made this one tonight. I'm going to put that one in the bifaces. Okay. See, this one is going to go, I'm either going to make something off camera with this one or stick it in with the bifaces. Nice flaking, Patrick. Thank you. Thank you. Talking about blades, says Francis. Let's see. What did we sing before? Unusable. I meant the unusable blades. Which is the most unusable? Is that what you were asking? Let me go back further. Hey, TJ and Soul is here. Yeah, TJ gave me a big gift. I'm going to buy some rocks. Yeah, TJ was very generous and gave me a gift of money. and I'm going to buy some rocks when I go to Letchworth at the end of this month. And we're gonna see some good stuff, hopefully. So say thank you to TJ because there's some good stuff coming up. OGS. I had a small spare room with a small window. I kept a fan in it, my other house, and I napped in it for about a month and everything. And it was covered in dust. It was bad. Yeah. It gets pretty dusty in here for sure. Let's see here. Can you show us the most unusable one? I still don't understand exactly what that means. Unusable blade. Excuse me. Barnett says the distances they traveled for trade is crazy to me, especially for a culture without money to allow accumulation of large amounts of wealth like you see elsewhere. Yeah, it depends on what they were trading, though, right? Some people just got to have certain things, and it might not be worth a lot to the people that have it. You know, some people might be just drowning in little copper trinkets, and they say, "Man, I wish we could get rid of some of this stuff because it's just sitting there." Let's see, nice arrow notches, nice flaking. Thank you, thank you. Let's see, Mercury chain. Gonna go hunting for local materials soon. White Mountains of Arizona. Awesome. Jeff Jin says, "Good night, Patrick. Nice points. Thank you, thank you." Chronic Doom Scroller is here. It says, "I collected some duck feathers. I might use it for fletchings or decorations." Awesome. Turn on the new filter. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it on, but I need to bring it in here first. It's in the house still. I had it running in the house just to make sure it works. Turn on the filters, you stop coughing. Yeah. Well, I don't see a lot of dust right now. When I work on the smaller points, a lot of the dust just settles very, very quickly. It doesn't stay in the air. When I work on the big stuff or when I work on obsidian, that's when there's a lot of dust. Yeah, when I work on the big points, I still got some big bifaces to nap down. So to, let's see, they're not that big, but see, when I work on this kind of stuff, that's when I get a lot of dust. Ballinger, Texas. But I need to nap these down. I'm gonna bring the air filter in here when I nap these down, and then I got some big pieces of obsidian I'm gonna work on too. One of the advantages of small points is that they don't create a lot of dust. You know, if I make a bunch of hunting points of this size, these are hunting point size, they don't create a whole lot of dust. So that's good. But anything bigger than that, it starts to be very dusty. This one wasn't too bad. It started out as a flake. So wasn't much dust involved in that one. These are not too bad down there. Anyway, those are some nice preforms. Thank you, thank you. Mercury chain, slag, wild chert, easy nap. Nap easy? None of this stuff is nap easy. These are all cherts that I've got. Nap easy naps pretty easily. I've tried it. I've got a couple of videos where I demonstrate it. Brian Gill sells it. That's where I got mine. I got mine indirectly. Someone bought it from him and then gave me the pieces to try out. Wild chert. I never heard of wild chert, but yes. The chert from the wild. Slag. I think when you say slaggle, I think you mean slag. Like slag glass. Mercury chains. Okay, what sources should I focus on early? I would focus on sources that you find at Knappings. Free flakes. You can get free flakes at Knappings. You can try materials at Knappings. You just hang around with a bunch of other nappers. That's your best sources to focus on. If you try finding rock on your own, it leads to lots of misery in some cases. If you try to spend lots of money on sight unseen by sellers online that are selling stuff that's too good to be true, you're going to spend a lot of money and waste a lot of money. There are good sellers online, and we can recommend some. The first one that comes to mind is Danny Collins at Flintknappingtraditions.com. Danny Collins is a supporter of this channel. That's why I mentioned him. But he's also a really good guy, and he knows what he's doing. Gulf Coast Knapping, I think also, Jake, you see him in the chat. I think he also sells stone. But I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, there are good stone sellers, but make sure that you ask someone first before you actually buy a bunch of stuff. Ask someone else's opinion. Get a second opinion before you buy stuff online, sight unseen. I'm in the city, so chances of a nap in here would be slim. Well, what city are you in? I mean, you don't want to give away your address. Just tell me the state. Most napkins that are big are within an hour of a city. Okay? Now, the Brady Knapping in Texas is 2 hours from Austin, Texas, which is a big city. I think that's the closest big city. If we're talking about Texas. But Texas is huge, right? So there are other states that are not as big. And the napkins are closer to cities in that case. What are you doing right now? I'm just going to chat a while because I'm already done. I'm done Flintknapping. I made something online. I mean, not online. I made something during a live stream. I chipped this arrowhead. We call them arrowheads in general, but it's actually like a little dart point. Out of Texas chert. Some people call it flint, but in the United States we call it chert. I didn't wrap it or anything because I'm going to sell this in the auction coming up on Monday. I sell all the stuff I make on video in my auctions. Okay. Okay. Let's see. We've already discussed a lack of social nappers on here. Yes, I know. I know. I'm just saying, if someone asks me, I'm going to tell them straight up to go to a nap, and that's the best. And then I find out later they're allergic to people, and then I recommend certain sellers that know what they're doing. You can buy stuff sight unseen online, but you got to be careful. Got to be careful. Fish Goober says, I just learned you won the toilet bowl napping contest. That's awesome. Yeah, you saw that video, huh? Elijah says, you have any tips on making Phragmites arrows? Yeah, the first tip is make sure you have proper Phragmites, thick-walled. Most Phragmites that you find has been imported from Europe, and it's not the natural or native species of Phragmites here in the United States. Make sure you have the thick-walled Phragmites reed. That's the first one. Other than that, it's just straightforward reed-type arrows, or similar to river cane, except it's a lot lighter. I have videos on making reed or cane arrows. Just type in Jack Crafty arrow making or something like that. I got videos on it. Yeah, don't give out addresses on the open chat. Yeah. Yeah, Damien Fangirl, erase your comment because we don't want that. information is too personal. You know, don't dox yourself. But yeah, in Dallas, there are nappers in and around Dallas. They don't all go to Knappings, but there are nappers in and around Dallas. The reason why I say that is because they might have stashes of rocks that they could sell you or even give you stuff that they're not going to use. Get on Facebook if you're not on Facebook already and look at Flintknapping groups. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kurt's church is not far from Dallas. I could be wrong, but he's a rock seller. Curtis Smith. There are rock sellers in and around Dallas, and you can find Texas bull gravel at landscape supply yards in and around Dallas. Yeah, Damien Fangirl, you don't give out addresses because, you don't want people knowing where you live just in case, yeah, because of crazies. Yeah. I can remove the comment for you. Yeah, let's see. So I removed it, so we're safe. Let's see. Creek Ninja Landry says, I recently found some amazing jet black Tallahassee quartzite that I'm going to knap. Have you ever seen or tried knapping any? No, I have not. Let's see. Oops. Okay. Let's see. What else? Yeah, the hardest thing about making Phragmites arrows is finding the right kind of Phragmites. And I have some in the house. I forgot to bring it out to the shop to show you that it needs to be thick-walled Phragmites. If it's not thick-walled Phragmites, then don't make it out of Phragmites. Don't make any arrows out of stuff that's really weak. Yeah. That's my tips. Lance McElwain says he has black Tallahassee. Oh, dang. Well, then go look at Lance's channel. Lance has a channel. He does Flintknapping. Lance McElwain. I even saw videos on him making some boppers. Yeah. So he can show you how to make boppers. Creek Ninja Landry. If you recently found some out in the wild, how lucky are you? All right, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm putting the hearts on the screen. Oh, you're the one putting the hearts on the screen. Thank you. Let's see. I can put some 100%. I can 100% my own live stream. Anyways, we'll see you tomorrow night. I do a live stream every night. Every night I do a live stream. Tomorrow night we're getting back to our regularly scheduled programming and doing the bird point thing. Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.